Hi. There's a lot of people very worried at this time, and it really helps to know that there are people who care and want to help. And particularly at this time, it's an opportunity to pray for those who have lost loved ones to this terrible disease, this coronavirus, COVID-19. And we want to pray for those who have lost loved ones, but also to encourage those that remain, because they might feel scared, they might feel isolated or alone. And I just want to share with you something that's from the Bible, a wonderful book that many people trust in greatly for that encouragement and truth. A man called Elijah. He knew what it was like to be on top of the mountain, and there was a victory that he won for God at Carmel, but that was very quickly forgotten. And people today have probably forgotten very much of what the blessings we've had of recent years, and it's all gone from their minds. But Elijah also knew what it was like to be alone and scared and fearing for his life. And I just want to share with you some verses from the Bible that give us that encouragement. In 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 1 to 4, it says, "And Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, and withal how he had slain all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah, saying, So let the gods do to me, and more so, if I make not thy life as the life of one of them by the morrow about this time. And when he saw that, he arose and went for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongeth to Judah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a juniper tree. And he requested for himself that he might die, and said, It is enough now, Lord, take away my life, for I am not better than any of my fathers." We'll leave reading there for a minute. So think about what he did. First of all, he fled for his life, so he was thinking about himself. He was thinking of self-preservation. And that's what people are doing at the moment. They're stockpiling all the things that they need, and they're putting them in their house because they know trouble's coming. They're thinking of themselves. And he despaired for his life. He thought, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. This trial is too much. I can't manage. And many people are thinking that whatever they've got, it's not enough. But he did appeal to the Lord, the God of Israel, Jehovah. His prayer wasn't very good. He asked that he might die. His prayer was misguided, but it was also left unanswered. Like many of the prayers we make to God, we don't ask them in the right way. Let's carry on with this amazing event in the life of Elijah. 1 Kings 19 verse 5 says, "And he lay and slept under a juniper tree. Behold, then an angel touched him and said unto him, Arise and eat. And he looked, and behold, there was a cake baken on the coals, and a cruse of water at his head. And he did eat and drink, and laid him down again. And the angel of the Lord came again the second time, and touched him, and said, Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee. And he arose and did eat and drink, and went in the strength of that meat 40 days and 40 nights unto Horeb, the mount of God." So that's 1 Kings 19 verses 5 to 8. So what did God actually do for Elijah? He sent a messenger. He sent somebody to preserve him. And people today are looking out for those. Somebody who can come and help them in a time of need. Maybe practical help, maybe a little bit of a comforting call, maybe somebody giving some shopping, whatever it is, but they're looking out for those people who can come and help. He didn't get the answer to his prayer that he was expecting, because the Lord knows better than we do. God knows what we need, and he doesn't give us necessarily what we want. What God gave him was good enough for 40 days and 40 nights. And 40 in the Bible is often an example of testing time. We may be facing some testing times ahead, and some people have been asked to be isolated for 40 days, doubled. But what we can say is that what was provided for Elijah by the gracious hand of God can be provided for us also. I want to carry on because the story does get better. 1 Kings 19 verses 9 to 12. "And he came thither unto a cave, and lodged there, and behold, the word of the Lord came to him, and he said unto him, What doest thou here, Elijah? And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord God of hosts, for the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword, and I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. And he said, Go forth and stand upon the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains, and brake in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire a still small voice. 1 Kings 19 verses 9 to 12. What was God doing? He was revealing something of the power of God before he brought the presence of God. We read those verses and we can think of mighty things that happen in the world, but that God's not in them. The earthquakes, the disasters that we see, people might blame God for them, but God is not in them. God is not in those that came before Elijah on that day. But what we do see is that he's often more in the aftermath. He's in the aftermath when people stop and they realize that they are incredibly frail, and they've lost much of what they'd hoped and they'd expected that they'd have for their lifetimes. And they then have a chance to be still and hear the small voice of God. I wonder, are you willing to listen to what God has to say to you today? You need to be still. Now, in the world in which we have been in, we've been very busy, we've been running around, we've been chasing after every moment of every day, and now we have time to be still and to know that he is God. Just want to finish with the last few verses of that particular section, 1 Kings 19 verses 13 to 18. And it was so, when Elijah heard it, that he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood in the entering of the cave. And behold, there came a voice unto him and said, What doest thou here, Elijah? And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord God of hosts, because the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword, and I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. And the Lord said unto him, Go, return on thy way to the wilderness of Damascus, and when thou comest, anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. And Jehu the son of Nimshi shalt thou anoint to be king over Israel. And Elisha the son of Shaphat of Abel-Meholah shalt thou anoint to be prophet in thy room. And it shall come to pass that him that escapeth the sword of Hazael shall Jehu slay, and him that escapeth from the sword of Jehu shall Elisha slay. Yet I have left me 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which hath not kissed him. So, despite Elijah's complaint, which he said twice, God still didn't really listen to what he was saying. He had more for him to do. The point was, God was not finished with Elijah yet. So what we want to do is trust in the Lord and in the power of his might. Elijah was saying, I can't do it. I'm the last one. I'm the last man standing, and I've got no strength in myself, and I'm not as good as my fathers. But what Elijah needed was that encouragement. He was told to go. He needed that direction. He was told what to do. And he needed that assurance that God was going to prevail and God was going to deliver Israel. May we take encouragement from what God has said in his word. We need encouragement, we need direction, we need assurance. And if the world around us is going mad with worry, why on earth should we join with them? What value is that going to add? That we can do what God has asked us to do. Romans 13 verse 11 just gives us a final verse to close. It says, and knowing the time, that now is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. And we trust that God's word will be an encouragement to you, that it will be a real blessing as you're willing to listen to what God has to say and read from his word and trust him with all your heart. May God bless you. Good night.